this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Sunday chat today will be my usual wandering around aimlessly and waffling here and there. In fact, a lot of here and there. Yeah, it's Winter Olympics time, which for me means a fair bit of telly, a fair bit of sitting in the comfy chair, sipping some wine and watching some very entertaining stuff. There is, like with the whole Olympics, even with the Summer Olympics, there's bits that I'm not keen on and don't watch. With the Winter Olympics, it's the skating mainly, doesn't do much for me. Certainly the dancey bits. What I do like, which is, I suppose it's relatively new, if you're old like me, is the kids on the skateboards who take off into the air and eventually they come down. They go so high. I like all the skiing, especially the downhill. Yeah, so there's quite a bit that's entertaining for me that I like to watch. I've got a bit of a fascination with the curling. It's like watching paint dry, and yet when you sort of start watching it, you find you're staying, and you sort of think, why am I watching this? But it's not fascinating, it's not entertaining, and yet it's watchable for some reason. That's a strange thing, sliding bits of stone. But yeah, that's going on. I don't know what's going to happen with the, this time of year, one of my favourite Sunday programmes is Ski Sunday, which is on sort of around tea time on Sundays, just for this sort of period, you know, it's not on for long. Again, the competitions, well, it's all in the name, Ski Sunday, but it's the downhill that I like watching. Although I still like the slalom, but yeah, Winter Olympics is on, so that's good. And as important, if not more so from my point of view, the Six Nations rugby tournament has started. It's had to start early, and I think that's because it's running alongside the Winter Olympics. It might have something to do with that. But it started on Thursday. I watched some of that game, but not much of it. Yesterday there were two games on. There was Italy, I think it was Italy, were playing Scotland in lilac. This is rugby players in lilac shirts. Come on guys, you got blue, you got greens, you got reds, you got oranges, you got blacks. You don't need lilac. That's for footballers, not rugby players. Yeah, so I didn't watch any of that. But then England were playing Wales. Wales was a rugby nation once upon a time. If they were in a tournament, the chances are they were going to be up near the front. And now they're not. I don't know what's gone wrong, whether it's the choices of players or the coaching, I don't know what it is, but they certainly need to read the rule book. They had 9 penalties they gave away in the first quarter, and they had 2 yellow cards, so that's 2 people had to go and sit down for 10 minutes and watch. So that takes you down from 15 to 13. That's a reasonable percentage of players not there. But yeah, there's too many mistakes. You can't make that many mistakes at that level. You can in your local club maybe, when the ref's up the other end and can't see you anyway. This is televised, you know, international stuff. And they played poorly, quite honestly. England won by a lot. I think it was 40 something to, I don't know what it was, but a very low score. Wales did get some points, but they spent a lot of the game with no points at all. They need to do better. Yes, I mean, England tend to play in white, Wales tend to play in red, Scotland normally play in blue. I think perhaps that's because Italy also play in blue. You can't have 2 sides wearing the same colour, can you? You'd be treading on the face of the wrong people, you know. So, and Ireland playing green. That's proper Ireland. Yeah, so that tournament's running alongside. It's I don't know what you call it. It's got a name, but everybody plays everybody twice, I believe. So the tournament, there's only 6 people in it, 6 nations, but it's quite a few games basically. So and it goes over quite a few weeks because they don't play so much during the week. It's mainly weekends. But so that's running alongside. So again, sitting down in the comfy chair, and like last night, I had a nice meal and settled down to watch England play Wales. I enjoyed the game, even though it was incredibly one-sided. It was still entertaining. You can get some games that are very, very even, and yet they're not entertaining for some reason. Especially when they play what's called a kicking game. You know, somebody up the back kicks the ball right up there. Person catches it, kicks it right back here. Person catches it, kicks it right up there. That doesn't work. I mean, technically it might be a way of playing the game, but it's not entertaining. You know, you've got all that stadium watching, and when it's televised, you know, on national TV, it's not entertaining. It's kicking from one end to the other. It's about as boring as you can get. Until somebody makes a mistake, of course, which is what everybody's waiting for. It's like watching Formula 1 racing. You're not watching the race at all, are you? You're sitting there waiting for somebody to crash. That's what you're waiting for. I don't watch that. I don't find that entertaining. You know, it's just cars going rum, 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 rum. And if you're there at the stadium, you then got to wait for them to come round again. Especially at the speeds they go past. So, yes, I like some sport. I don't go and see any. I don't go out to get involved, but I watch an amount on TV. I won't say I watch a huge amount, because most of the sport you get on the telly is actually football, and I don't like football. So unless it's at World Cup level, at that class, then to me it's just people ballet dancing and tripping over their own feet and stuff like that, and being in absolute agony and then jump up and take a penalty. So they were obviously badly hurt, weren't they? It's just ballet dancing, and you know, a form of cheating, I would say. So we don't watch that much. So we got sport going on. What else is going on around the world? Strangely enough, eyes are turning elsewhere, and Ukraine's getting forgotten at the moment. So the war goes on. And I dare say quietly in the background, because it's going on all the time. You know, we were supposed to have, you know, you naughty people must stop bombing the electricity stations. It's cold, you must stop it. What do they stop it for 2 days? Not a week. So they don't take any notice. So what's the point? You've got peace talks. No, you haven't. You've got them stating that they're not going to change their minds, they're not going to give up any territory, and they want more, and the other side saying you can't have it because that decision can't be made with the political state of that country. So stalemate. Well, carry on fighting then, carry on dying, please yourselves. Banging their heads together. But yeah, there's other stuff going on. Trouble in the Middle East. There is always trouble in the Middle East. Always. You look back. Keep going back. Go on, go another year. Go another year. Go another year. Might not all be the same thing, but it is the Middle East. There's always trouble in the Middle East. So that's nothing new, and quite honestly, it's getting boring. It's getting tedious. But anyway, so that sort of stuff's going on. What else is going on? The big scandal with Epstein and the British politician, Lord. You know, this is something that annoys me. If you're a politician and you're into running the country, I don't think you should have the word Lord in your name. It doesn't entitle you to have anything to do with running the country. You know, well, not in my opinion anyway. But yeah, it's all scandal and sleaze, and it might even bring down our current Prime Minister. There are a lot of people who've got it in for him. A lot. I think there's even occasional bias in the media. And it's starting to catch on. It's like a train that goes off downhill with no brakes, and the hill's getting steeper and steeper. And it's like, you know, everybody's jumping on the train. It's well, possibly rightly so. But the problem is, like all big leaders that we've got, without many exceptions, was it ever the right man for the job? And was that the best choice you could come up with? And that certainly applies in our country. Was that it? Was that the best you could come up with? Now, at the time of the election, it sounded great in comparison with what it would replace. It didn't win basically on their, what do they call it, manifestos, a list of promises that don't need to be kept. That's what it basically comes down to. No, it's not. It's basically what we're going to do. How many governments have been elected in this country and have stuck to what they promised? When will we learn? Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Go on then, what song's that from? Very, very politically correct, even though it's incorrect, if you know what I mean. And given when it was written, those were the thoughts in those days as well. It was a long time ago. Brilliant song though. Anyway, what's going on in the orchid world then? Our amount of daylight is increasing. The rate at which it's increasing is also increasing quite dramatically now. We're starting to get that noticeable difference where people say the same thing every year. God, it's lighter in the mornings now, isn't it? Yes, same as it was this time last year and the year before and the year before that. God, it's light at tea time now, isn't it? Yes, same as it was before. It's not new. Some people say it as though it's never happened before. Well, yes it has, I'm afraid. But here, with the north-facing conservatory, I haven't got the level of light for the length of time that's going to trigger stuff back into growth in the main. Some things are starting to grow, like the peonies are showing signs of coming into growth, but I don't know what's triggering it. What is doing it? Oh, hang on, I must push this door around. I've noticed that with the heating on and the door open theory of, you know, getting some daytime heat, with the milder weather, I hate to say it, was getting too warm out here. The difference between the night temperature, which even though it's a bit milder, it still goes down to 12, my thermostat setting. But I don't want it 6 or 7 degrees warmer in the daytime, because it could trigger things when they haven't got enough light to support the trigger. Yeah, increasing the daytime temperature should go with a reasonable increase in light, not just intensity but length of light, in other words the day length, and I haven't got that yet, so I'm keeping the door not quite as wide open which is saving on the heating in the house. I actually turned the heating off a couple of days, you know, lunchtime, and then turned it back on tea time just for a couple of hours for the evening. So it still chills down quite quickly with the heating off. You can put up with it off, warm it up during the morning, get everything nice and warm, and then leave it off for the afternoon. But it's going to get cold as we head into next weekend, so that game will be over. It was nice while it lasted. So, yes, light amounts of daylight are getting better. Light intensity within that will be getting a bit better, but on a north-facing building in the northern hemisphere doesn't show that much, not really. If we get a bright sunny day, that'll be the day. Do you know, apart from some days at the very beginning of January, it has rained every single day this year. And we're into February creeping on now, second week. Every day this year has rained. Might have only been showers on some days, but it's topping up rain on top of rain on top of rain. We've got floods all over the place around the country. It's quite spectacular from here. When I did that film of the where I live, I did a tour round with the camera and filmed some of the sites around where I live. And one of the first places I filmed was the first bridge over the River Avon. The first, apart from going into Christchurch, where there's a bridge or a couple of bridges which I filmed, that's the next one heading north, heading into the country, that bridge there. And I said about all this out here, right up to those hills, is a floodplain. Well, it's a lake. All of that is underwater now, all of it. And a lot of what I can see when I take my road up to Ringwood to get on the road that takes me to everywhere else that I go to, all of that on the left hand side there is the floodplain. It's nearly all underwater. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then from Ringwood up to Salisbury, huge amounts of flooding, huge amounts. So the whole of the Avon Valley is basically flooded, and it just keeps raining. It just keeps getting worse, or at least keeping it topped up to the level it's at. So, quite bad news. Especially if it's got in your house and all you can hear on the weather forecast is more rain and more rain, you know. So water levels are not dropping to any extent at the moment. It's pretty grim. So that's weather. But it, at least at the moment down here in the south, it's mild, which it normally is when it's wet. Now the weather's due to change towards the weekend coming up. I got Orchid Society meeting on Saturday coming up, so I should be out. I've got the dreaded Zoom meeting. David and Jill Mathers are going to present via Zoom, and I'm crossing everything that it works, because it's a bit of a disaster if we get a kit failure or some sort of thing that I can't put right there and then, because it's like now or we don't bother, you know. And then I've got a room full of people who expect something up on the big screen to listen to and watch, and we haven't got anything, you know. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but hopefully it'll go okay, because it will then set the scene for future possibilities, because the speakers in the orchid world are getting very thin on the ground. That, like me, they're all getting old, and some of them don't want the travel anymore, but they might be prepared to do something via Zoom. It also means we can venture into other countries. Possibility of having somebody present from another country, perhaps in the EU, or perhaps, well, in the States it won't. The trouble is, if you venture too far into other countries, you're into time zone problems. And whereas we're meeting, you know, our meeting, the Zoom presentation starts about 2:30 on a Saturday, well, in parts of the States people are still in bed, you know, so it doesn't always work, that sort of thing. Right, so yeah, so that's what's coming up. It's quite a while before Hannah comes down again. She'll be down for the weekend that the Bournemouth Orchid Society show is, which is the last Saturday, the last Saturday in February. So it's still a while away. I haven't seen her for a long time now. It's just that there's been something on, either with her or with me, for many weekends consecutively. So it's been quite a long time since she was down. In fact, she hasn't been down since Christmas, so it is quite a long time. It's quite a long gap. We don't normally have gaps that long, but that's just the way it's gone, you know, with Orchid Society meetings and stuff that she had to do. So it's how it goes sometimes. Yes, so workload out here. I'm thinking about shortening the gap between watering to go with the increased amounts of daylight. But I'm not going to go mad. It's still cool. There's still no real heat, what I would call heat anyway. I mean, I'm going from 12 degrees. I'm letting it get up to sort of 16-ish, 17 with borrowed heat from the house. I don't really want it getting much warmer than that, not yet. As I said, I haven't got the amounts of daylight to go with that yet. So I'll keep my eye on it, but yeah, I mean, I'm up to scratch with the watering. Virtually everything got watered within about a 2-day period. I watered all my pots. The other thing I did was I had a look through my notes at things that perhaps ought to be repotted. They're colour coded, so they're easy to spot, and they're just based on the last repot date. In the main, I don't have to worry about what they're potted in, because for a while now, for quite a while, I've been using bark, which lasts a nice long time. It's only if you add moss. The moss breaks down a lot quicker than the bark does. So if there's moss in the mix, the repot needs to be more frequent. Well, it certainly does using the type of moss I use anyway. We have done a bit of work recently. The other thing at the Orchid Society, we've got a plant sale, members plant sale coming up, and I'm going to shift some stuff. I've got two very obvious things. I split up my Coleogyne Moriana. That went into 3 pieces, a good sized piece and 2 smaller divisions. Those will both go. I don't need 3 plants the same, so that's 2 that'll go. My Catatantes, huge big plant that I split into 3. 1 piece went to a friend. The other 2 pieces are nice big strong plants, and I looked up in my notes. I got that plant in 2022 and it still hasn't bloomed, so it's going. I don't want it. Big plants taking up space, 2 of them, no blooms. I can do without plants like that, so they're going to go. That clears out quite a bit of space actually. And we will also eventually get round to repotting some cymbidiums. Some of those are going to get split up, and the divisions will be, again, they'll be for sale. I've got this theory. If I pack plants up to take in to the society for a plant sale, if they don't sell, they're going in the raffle because I'm not bringing them home. So if people don't buy them, I won't tell them, but if they don't buy them, they're going to go in the raffle, and then they'd have to buy tickets in the raffle to get a chance of having them. So sort of semi-doing the Orchid Society a favour, really. So, that's that. So we will. The trouble is with splitting the cymbidiums, if I get rid of all the divisions and just keep 1 piece, I've still got a cymbidium. And in the meantime, I've got 2 or 3 or 4. So they're all going to have to go somewhere when I do this repotting and splitting them up. I'll find space for them all somewhere. Might end up chucking them outside. We shall see. Depends on the time of year, obviously. But yeah, the time of year is progressing. Traditionally, if you really want to take all risk of frost away, you're supposed to wait till the end of May. But those sort of traditions don't take into account the changes we're getting in the climate. Winter ends sooner, spring starts sooner, the threat of frost ends sooner. People don't make adjustments, they keep repeating the same statement over and over again. I think we had our last frost last year, because I was watching, in April. I don't think we had any frosts in May. Remember, I am on the south coast of the UK. Probably still had snow up in Scotland. I think they've got some up there today, on top of what they've already got. But, yeah, it's yeah, could do with making some adjustments to these traditional sayings about temperatures and weather and stuff like that, because it is changing. We don't get the cold winters like we used to get in this country. You know, or we've had a real cold spell. It, you know, went down below 0. We've had, you know, I can remember when I lived in Swindon, we had -12, and it went on for quite a few days, and it didn't get up to freezing during the daytime. It stayed well below freezing all day, and then really below freezing overnight. We haven't had weather like that for years. I mean, I haven't lived in Swindon for donkey's years. So it's tradition. I hate Swindon, horrible place. That was the worst period in my life as far as where I lived. I did not like that town at all. Didn't like it at all. But I moved there for a job, and I liked the job. And I suppose I had quite a nice house. It's quite close to the railway line, so sometimes you'd be sitting there watching a bit of telly, and you start to doze off, and the train goes past. It did used to vibrate the house, the goods trains, not the passenger trains. They used to fly through, but the old goods trains at 3 o'clock in the morning, about 2 miles long, chundering past, you know, rattling on every rail joint. But yeah, never got on with that town. I've always said if you get out of Swindon onto the bypass and get onto the M4 and head towards London, the first thing you do is climb quite a long hill, and just as you go over the top, if you look in your mirrors, you can see Swindon in the distance. That's the best view you'll ever have. And then it disappears as you go over the top of the hill. Lovely. Didn't get on with that town at all. But, you know, sometimes your job takes priority, and I mean, you know, it was a good job. It got paid well, I had promotions, and it led me into going freelance, you know, so it paved the way to get me to do that. As quite a few people around me were doing it, like rats leaving the sinking ship. Changes of management. We're going to do it all different. We're going to do it like this. We've got consultants in, and they've told us we're doing it all wrong. What are you doing? Are you staying or going? Oh, I think I'll go. And a lot of good people left, quite one after the other. Some left together to go to somewhere else, the same place. Quite a few people went out to went to the Middle East, believe it or not. Where did they go? I forget. But they went to one of the. There was some of the countries in the Middle East bought a lot of ICL kit. They were outbid, so they bought ICL kit instead of IBM, so the UK kit instead of the American kit. And a lot of it was because they had the support. You know, people would go there and support it. I mean, I had a friend and his mate, they went out there and stayed a week and a half in a posh hotel and everything like that to set up a couple of printers. They do come with instructions, you know. Plug in, turn on. Dear oh dear. But yeah, there was a lot of money to be made out there, a lot of money. And of course all the rules change. You know, you can only go to certain places and get a drink. You know, there's not bars all over the place, which people from this country are used to. And they have different rules with driving as well, I was told. I mean, I didn't go out there, but you know, people kept in touch sort of thing. They said, you got to go ever so careful with your driving, because if a car goes into you, if you're in an accident that wasn't your fault, they say it is your fault because you shouldn't be there. So it's your fault for being there, being a foreigner, like, you know. And the other thing, there was a guy out there who was went out there. He was registered blind. Now he could see shadows. And he worked in IT. He had the most magnificent setup. He had a keyboard where he could type, and then it would repeat what he's typed in braille across the top, so he could put his fingers down and make sure what he typed was okay. And then he could hit keys to go and correct or whatever like that. And he had a huge magnifying glass in front of the screen. The letters were about that big, so that he could vaguely see what was going on his screen. And you go out there, rules are a bit different out there. He had to go on a speedboat round the bay. Can't you see about that far in front of him? Oh dear. And he drove a truck. He had to go at driving a big truck. They went out there to play. They had a lot of fun. They got a huge sums of money, stayed in brilliant accommodation, everything like that, because they took their skill sets out there, which were in demand at the time. You know, it's all supply and demand, isn't it? Yeah. Now, I stayed here in this country, but I still went freelance. It was the thing to do in those days, in the IT world. You had to set up your company, you had to have a limited company, and then there were lots of agencies that found you work. And if you were coming to the end of a contract, you'd contact the agencies and say, you know, I'm finishing in 3 or 4 weeks' time, can you let me know what's about? And you'd get all these jobs come flooding in. And you could pick and choose based on like where they are, what the work was, or how much they were offering. You could pick and choose. And then when I finally finished in the IT world, that had all dried up. The days of the freelancers, they weren't over, but the jobs were really thin on the ground. Because people realised that instead of paying for a skill and then losing it, it was more economical to get people in to train their own people, probably at great expense, so that the skills were maintained in the companies. So the days of people dropping in, using their skills and then being let go, they didn't, you know, they just got them in on consultancy roles. So it all changed. So yeah, those were the days then. Earned an awful lot of money in those days. I mean, if you think I was on an hourly rate that today wouldn't be a bad hourly rate. I mean, I was on £30 an hour, and that was all expenses paid, all travelling expenses, overnight accommodation, meals, everything was paid for. And I got paid that hourly rate from when I left home till when I got back. So I got paid to drive to places like Blackpool, check into a hotel. Obviously once you get there you stop getting paid, and then go and do a day's work the next day and then drive home and get paid for the drive home as well. So I could do like 6 hours work and charge 18 hours at that rate. You didn't get reduced rate for the travelling, paid you full rate. It's classed as work. And I had a couple of lucrative ones because Edinburgh was one of my sites. So basically, where I lived, our base was in Reading. So if I went to London, I had to go past Reading to get to London. So I didn't get paid until I got to Reading, when I was then travelling. However, if I went to Edinburgh, I travelled away from Reading because I had to go to Bristol Airport, get on a plane, fly to Edinburgh, get in a taxi, go to the site, taxi back again, fly back, get in my car and drive home. So I got paid from when I went out the front door to when I got back. And those were long days, you know, and got to fly to Edinburgh. And that happened relatively frequently. So these were good days, you know, these were good days. So long since gone. So as one of the cymbidium spikes is heading towards, it's underneath there, and it's heading towards the top shelf. Obviously I don't want to touch it because it will ruin some of the buds. So yes, that was in the working days. My working days now are based around this. You know, this is my work now. It's a hobby as well, but I still treat it as a job. You know, but the way I'm running the place now, I don't work out here every day. I mean, I have my day off of filming on Monday. That might coincide with a main watering day, so just because I'm not filming doesn't mean I'm not doing anything out here. But I've got a good dozen or more plants that need repotting, so I will be looking into those this week, probably. I might wait till next time I water, but I'm going to start looking into those plants to have a look and see if they're in a suitable state to be able to repot. I mean, as I look at them, there might be a couple that get classed as a relative emergency and need doing straight away, irrespective of it perhaps not being the best time. There's one in particular I can think of. So, right, my coffee's nearly cold, so I must have been waffling a long time. Although it wasn't hot when I started, quite honestly. Right, I'm going to take the camera down and just, what I'm going to do is have a look round at a shelf at a time and just say some things about each shelf, especially bearing in mind work coming up on some plants. So we'll do that. Now I've arranged the plants in such a way that not across the board, but in a lot of cases a shelf will contain not that much of a mix. Right, so I'm going to move this so that we can get in the corner, because that's a shelf we never look at. Just going to move this across and then try not to break my neck over everything that's on the floor. It's my RO bucket, and I left it on a little bit too long, so I don't waste RO water, so I've just left it in there because all my containers are full. Right, so up here, that's one of the catatantes, that big plant at the back, that's going to go. These four are Prosthetia types, because there's one that isn't a Prosthetia. There's a species, there's two species, there's Radiata as well, one of these. I'm not going to go around all the names, but at least two, if not three, of the Prosthetias need repotting. One of them hasn't been repotted since I got it, and that was in 2003. So I don't even know what it's in. It hasn't come out of the pot. So that one hasn't too long been done, so that's these three. They all need repotting, right? This shelf is my Fitzgeraldii, the Sarcochilus, my only one. That doesn't need repotting. It was done not long after I got it. And then we've got Draculas and Masdevallias. I don't think any of those need doing. They haven't long been done. Paphiopedilums, I think all three of those need a repot. That one certainly does. Its pot's too small and the roots are all crammed up. And this one, I haven't had it long, but I don't know what it's in. You know, it's still in what it came in. That was the White Lady. So that needs at least taking out the pot and inspecting. And that definitely needs repotting, that little one. And then over here, this is an assortment over here. We've got my, up the back, you won't be able to see it, but my Laelia anceps is up the back. That hasn't been repotted long, so that can stay. My one and only Cattleya, the bright red one, I think that could possibly need repotting, but that's going to have to wait until I see some serious roots, and if I don't, then it'll have to live with the compost it's got. There's quite a few rescue Oncidium types along the back there. These are the two Sabina Maya, these two. It was when I repotted it, there were two plants in there, so they both went in separate pots. So they haven't long been potted, they're okay. Don't know what to do with this. This is my only, come on brain, I can't think what the hell it is. It is Epidendrum. It's my only one. And it does look as though it's making an effort to grow. The scale nearly took that down. I mean, this piece over here is dead. This is a kiki. That could do with going a bit lower in the pot, and then it might do something. So I might just take that out of the pot, put it in some new bark a bit lower down. Oncidium hybrid, I don't think that's long been done. And then my Vanda, that's in a pot full of bark, that doesn't need touching. And the other Catatanti is that big plant there. So that's that one and that one are both going to go. There's no point in keeping them. Down here we've got this very silly Dendrobium. It's a Latoria type. Big plant. Every year it grows a new cane with nice shiny green leaves. I've had it probably 4 years now and it's never bloomed. I'd have a job to get rid of it because what I decided to do was give it much more light, and it reacted quite badly. It did not like the extra light. So that didn't work and it still didn't bloom. So this was last year's cane, which wasn't so bad because it didn't get the bright light, so it's got nice bright green leaves, but still hasn't bloomed. And then the other three are Zygopetalums. That's my species, and 2 hybrids up there. So that's what's going on behind the Cymbidiums. Let's just move that back. That's out of the way. Right, Pleones, signs of life in places, but not many. There's no signs of life on any of these. Well, these were the ones I got. Oh yes, there is. There's one coming up there. But not a lot of movement, basically. Not a lot going on. And the rest of them are over here. And these are the ones that are the most advanced. And that does seriously look like a bud, doesn't it? On the top of that one. Difficult to tell, because I've never had one in that state. We've got a few new shoots in the big pot. Nothing showing there. And this one's got a couple of new growths. The Disas, they're not really doing anything, but in the main they've stopped dying. that's the main thing. They've still got the brown tips on the leaves, but they will go out again when the weather's suitable. The problem is, you see, at the time they go out is the time they could be coming into bloom. And I don't want them out in the garden if they're in bloom. I want them in here so that we can see them. So that's something that I'll wing it as it happens. You know, they may end up going outside and then some of them might come back in. I doubt if they're all going to bloom, but I think we should get blooms in at least 4 of the pots. This one and the 3 along the back. These 3 in here are small plants, and yeah, so I don't think there'll be any blooms there. And then up here we've got the Nobiles towards the back there. The Apollon, that came from my friend Helen, that's come into bloom. And somewhere in here we have a slug or a snail. You see the damage here? Yeah? So I haven't found it yet. And it's not doing what I'd call severe damage, not enough to do a hunt every night till I find the little blighter. But there's something in here chewing, and it's not very big because the damage is small. But there's something in here. I'll see if I can show you this. It'll be a big zoom. There's a bud. There. You see the hole in it? That's what I spotted first of all. So that's that. My Prima Donna's got a nice lot of buds on it, so that's going to be quite a good show. There's another one. See the damage at the base of that bud? So there's something in here chewing. Might have to start doing a search. Then we've got the 2 paths that are in bloom, and Blackjack needs a repot. That hasn't been, well, it was done when I got it, but it hasn't been done for some time now. And it's effectively, the pot is absolutely full. so that needs sorting out. We've got this Brassica hybrid, no ID or anything. I got this because it had quite a few blooms on and it was cheap at Burnham's. I don't want it, so that'll go. It has short spikes and they're not Brassica-like enough for me to, you know, think it's great. It's also a hell of a lot of plant for not a lot of blooms, so that will go. That'll free up a bit of space. There's a few Oncidium types up the back there as well. Then here we've got 4 of Derek's plants that are left and 1 that isn't. That's my Nellie Isla in the middle there. Those need repotting if I'm going to keep them. I've had those years and years. They're not growing. Something fundamentally wrong with them. They just won't get going. And then down here are my Odont type Oncidiums. None of which are doing brilliantly. This one's not doing bad. Nice big fat new growth. But yeah, there's some pretty sickly looking things in amongst those. And then we've got 2 shelffuls of Coleogenes. The Moriana divisions, this Moriana magnifica, these 2 divisions will go. So those will disappear. Apart from that, they're all going to stay. As far as work goes, the cristata will get repotted once it's finished blooming and the new growth start. So you look at the base of the latest bulb, you get a sheath with a spike and another sheath without anything. If you look very closely at the base of that sheath, that's the new growth. And it won't start until the blooms are gone, and then it should start into growth. And given that there's no roots between this bulb and that bulb, and this one's sticking up in the air, we've got to get that down in the pot. So we might be giving it that treatment, the basket. Yeah, the shallow basket with the moss to hold the bark in place and get the rhizomes down into the media. Keep forgetting there's a nice spike on the top of that plant. It's a really big spike, but it's growing incredibly slowly. These are my Miltoniopsis. I've got the one over here in bloom. It's up on the display area so that we can see it. But those are the rest of them. I don't think any of these are doing brilliantly. This one certainly isn't. Dehydration, lack of roots. This one's lost quite a lot of its leaves, not doing very well. See, now this one, strangely enough, is a Miltoniopsis species that needs to be warmer. So this one doesn't like the cold. That's a warmer, shadier one, likes a bit of extra shade. And then we've got a few Restrepias down there, 2 of which are in bloom. Oh, never focus on that. One there, and that one's got blooms on as well. And then last but not least, we've got the, these are all Masdevallias here, in various stages. Some are doing well. These 2 in the middle are not doing so well. But yeah, some are doing pretty good. And then the Cymbidiums are dotted around at the moment. Obviously the biggest ones are on the top of the movable staging. And then we've got one in here because it's a cascade. So I made a bit of room for that one so that it can hang down. And we've got the 2 over here. The Cymbidium copper is going over now. See how the colour changes? That one's going, that one's not yet. So the first thing that goes is the colour in the lip dramatically changes and starts to bleed. The red bleeds into the lighter colours. They can look quite attractive, honestly. And then we've got another couple down here, so they're dotted around basically. So that's what there is. As far as the mounts are concerned, recently mounted one. That was done in the last members only video, so normal viewers didn't get to see that. But that's the result there, that one there, that was a mount that we did. And the mounts that I've got I'm okay with. I don't really want that many more because of placement. It is difficult finding places for them to hang. And then the rest of my mounts are over here. That's a mixture of there's a couple of Miltonias and mostly Dendrobiums. And then there's a few there's some Restrepias down there, one of which is definitely dead, one that's probably dead, and one that's not doing bad. That's got a bloom on as well. So, and then over here we've got the Victoria Regina. That's several plants on that mount. And then the Hercoglossum that Insa got for me, new specimen plant, and it will be. It's growing. It's grown a lot since I got it. It's become quite a big plant. I don't think we will get a mass blooming this year, but next year we will. Next year that could be a real centerpiece, hopefully. Okay, so that's what I've got. As I said, workload. I will go round. Plants that are going to get moved on, you know, taken into the society to get rid of. You know, they won't get much attention. I'm certainly not repotting plants. You know, if I'm going to sell a plant and it needs repotting, I shall just say so. Oh, by the way, that needs repotting. You know, just tell people, and they can do it and decide what pot they want it in and everything. So, yeah, so that's sort of what's going on out here. What I've got, brief look. Obviously, not spending a lot of time looking at individual plants, but yeah. So it is a mixture, and there's quite a lot of Dendrobiums, a lot of Cymbidiums nowadays, still quite a lot of Oncidium types, got some Masdevallias and a couple of Draculas on that, you know, in that sort of cool shady stuff, quite a lot of Coelogenes, most of which are doing pretty good, and yeah, so there are some that I just don't want to go, and in amongst that bit of a clear out to get stuff to go into the society to get rid of, there might be some that I'm just fed up with being here that are not good enough to give to anybody else. So we might be dumping a few, we shall see. But that's the trouble. If you grow your orchids really well, the plants get bigger and bigger and your space doesn't. That stays the same. So unless you get rid of some things, you know, you haven't got room to get any new plants in, because everywhere's full. So we shall see how we go. Anyway, time to go, and thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks for my memberships. We haven't had any new members, but I've kept the ones I've got. So a big thank you to all those that are still members. The last one was Barry Birch, that was a rejoin, so left and came back basically on a reasonably high tier as well. So good stuff there. But apart from that, the membership stayed static. And as always, thanks for watching. I will say that this time of year, for those creators who either depend on or look forward to some income from their creations, like me, these times are hard because the advertisers tend to stop. Once Christmas is over, you don't get so many adverts, and if they're not posting them, you can't watch them. So it becomes quite important now to watch adverts as often as you can, because you won't get as many presented to you. So, you know, to keep the actual income coming, the adverts become quite important this time of year. I always remember Rachel saying, you know, I see you're monetized now. You wait till January and February and watch it drop down. And it does. It drops right down. Comes back up again for Easter, and then it picks up again in the summer. But it's at its peak leading in towards Christmas, so sort of October, November, December, that is where the high cost adverts are in there, sort of thing. Anyway, thanks for everybody who watches. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for leaving comments and everything, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for dropping by.